Coming live from the studio, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for watching another episode of All Sports. This is your host Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I am going to talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, college football, and soccer. Before I start the show, I hope you all had a great week. To start off, right now I'm going to talk about the coronavirus and how it's affecting the sports world. So up until this point, all sporting leagues, regardless if they were in season or not in season, but especially the leagues that were in season right now, all seasons up until this point have been suspended. Also, any future sporting events in the next few weeks, those events have been postponed at this time and will be made up at a later time. The coronavirus has affected the sports world in a big way. Something that most leagues and the sports world has never seen before. There's no doubt that with this coronavirus taking place and how it's affecting the sports world, the next generations are going to read books about the coronavirus in 2020, but how it affected the sports world and how this coronavirus stopped the sports world and put sports on hold, and how this coronavirus has put everything on hold, especially in the sports world, and how it stopped leagues that are currently playing right now, and how it has suspended leagues or postponed any future sporting events in the next few weeks. The sporting world has never seen something like this take place in the past, and the only time leagues or sporting events have been suspended or postponed in the past was because of world wars that have happened in the past, or leagues having a situation where they had to suspend, postpone, or cancel part of a season or an entire season because of something that is taking place in their league, which made them postpone, suspend, or cancel a part of a season or an entire season. But none of that can compare to this coronavirus happening in 2020 and how it's affected the sports world and how it has put everything on hold. And for the last few weeks, there hasn't been any games or any sporting events playing up until this point. And for the next few weeks, it looks like we're not going to see sports playing, regardless of what it is, anytime soon. And we're going to have to wait and see when this coronavirus ends, which is hopefully in the next few weeks. But as of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon, since this is only the beginning, especially here in the US, and we haven't seen its peak, and we definitely have not seen it decrease. And once that happens, as of right now, since our everyday lives are different, and we're not living our normal everyday lives, hopefully sometime in the next few weeks, since our lives have been put on hold because of this coronavirus pandemic, hopefully in the next few weeks we will see our lives and everything else go back to normal. But until then, we're all going to have to stay strong and get through this together, because this is only the beginning. We haven't reached the peak. It's definitely not decreasing. And we gotta wait for this to decrease. And once we can get through this coronavirus pandemic, then we can get back to living our everyday lives and doing what we do on a daily basis. But also, we can get back to seeing sports playing at stadiums, on TV. We can see the sports world get back to normal and get back to functioning the way it was before this coronavirus pandemic. And it's not just affecting the US, it's affecting the entire world. It has also affected all leagues and all sporting events in the last few weeks and going into the next few weeks. Now right away, there was only a few leagues that were suspending their season or postponing games. And at the very beginning, only a few leagues were suspending their season or postponing games. But in the last few weeks, as this coronavirus has gotten worse, no matter where you are around the world, we eventually saw all leagues that we're currently playing right now suspend their season until further notice. The only leagues that were not affected were the ones that are not in season right now, but they're still being effective in a certain way because of the things that they do during their off season. So their off season events are definitely being affected, even though their season's not being affected. But as of right now, all leagues have suspended their season or postponed future games, no matter if they're in season or not in season. And if they're not in season, they have suspended or postponed their upcoming season or their off-season events. And who knows how long this coronavirus is going to last? It can be a few more weeks, but until it decreases and gets better, we're not going to see any sports anytime soon. So it's definitely going to be different for the next few weeks, not seeing any sporting events playing. It's even been different in the last few weeks since sports has stopped. But hopefully, sometime in the next few weeks, we'll finally see sports come back. But also, we can see our lives come back to normal, even though our lives have been put on hold as of right now. And there's no doubt that our everyday lives have been different for the last few weeks, and it's going to be different for the next few weeks. And who knows how long this coronavirus pandemic is going to last, but hopefully it comes to an end in the next few weeks and it doesn't last for that many weeks. Since sports has been put on hold, any new content or information that is released, I'm still going to do all Sports with Gerardo shows on a weekly basis if there's new content to talk about. But if it's not on a weekly basis that there's new content to talk about, I will still do shows when there is new content to talk about. And even for your host Gerardo, right now it's different for me as well, because my show is every Tuesday in the afternoon in the Tivoli Met Radio studio on our area campus. And as you can tell right now, and even in my last episode and in my next few episodes, I'm not going to be in the Tivoli Met Radio studio on our area campus. I'm actually in a different studio right now. But I hope that this coronavirus doesn't last for that long, and that it only lasts a few more weeks. And hopefully, in the next few weeks, this coronavirus will go away and we can get back to living our normal lives. But for me, hopefully, sometime in the next few weeks, I can get back into the Tivoli Met Radio studio on the Rare campus, doing All Sports with Gerardo every Tuesday afternoon from the studio. But until then, I still will be doing All Sports with Gerardo shows when there is new content to talk about. It's going to be a little bit different, but I can get through this. No matter what your situation is, going into the next few weeks, if we all can do our part, regardless of where we live on this planet, whether it's in the US or in another country, because this coronavirus is affecting almost everyone in almost every country around the world. It's not just the US. But if we can all do our part, then in the next few weeks, we can all get through this together. And we can get back to hopefully living our normal lives on a daily basis sometime in the next few weeks. But until then, life's going to be a little bit different. But I know, regardless of who you are, and including myself, we can all get through this together if we do our part. Until the end of the coronavirus, I'm still going to be doing All Sports with Gerardo shows when there's new content to talk about. And it's going to be a little bit different from now until the time I can get back into the Tivoli Met Radio studio. But I still will be posting new shows when there is new content to talk about. All Sports with Gerardo is going to be a little bit different, but I can get through this just like you can get through whatever situation you're going through. And the days are going to be different from the times that I post All Sports with Gerardo shows. But if you haven't, or even if you already are, make sure to follow All Sports with Gerardo on social media at All Sports with Gerardo on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Because when I post new shows, no matter what day it is or when it is, that's where you'll see that I'm posting new episodes of All Sports with Gerardo. So make sure to follow my social media accounts, especially YouTube, because that's where I'll be posting new episodes of All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to Major League Baseball. The Red Sox announce Chris Sale will undergo Tommy John surgery. He will miss the entire 2020 season, and the Red Sox hope they can get him back in June or July during the 2021 season. The Mets announce Noah Syndergaard will undergo Tommy John surgery. He will miss the entire 2020 season, and the Mets hope they can get him back sometime during the 2021 season. For the Red Sox and the Mets, this is a huge loss to their starting rotations, especially for the Red Sox since Chris Sale is their ace. And for the Mets, Noah Syndergaard's definitely going to be a big loss to that Mets starting rotation, after the Mets wanted Noah Syndergaard to start and pitch behind their ace, Jacob deGrom. And the Mets know that Noah Syndergaard has a lot of potential going into the future, and he has already shown some of his talents in the last few seasons that he's been playing with the Mets. So there's no doubt for the Red Sox, losing Chris Sale in their starting rotation will be a huge loss, and the Mets losing Noah Syndergaard in their rotation will also be a huge loss to the Mets. both the Red Sox and the Mets are going to have to see what they can do to improve their starting rotation, since the Red Sox won't have Chris Sale for about a year and a half, and even the Mets, they won't have Noah Syndergaard for about a year and a half. So for the Red Sox, Chris Sale is a huge loss to the rotation, and for the Mets, Noah Syndergaard's a huge loss to the rotation. Both the Red Sox and the Mets are going to have to see what they can do to improve their starting rotation, as they have one of their best starting pitchers not pitching for their team for the entire 2020 season and for part of the 2021 season. And they're going to have to see how they can improve their starting rotation and who can replace their spot in their starting rotations. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NFL football. The new league year began on March 18. NFL free agency began on March 18. So right now I'm going to update you with all the current moves that have happened during free agency. There's no doubt that there's a few teams that have definitely improved their team for the 2020 season compared to the type of team that they had in 2019. And the Broncos were one of those teams that improved their team both on offense and defense. And there were many other teams that also improved their team during free agency. With free agency now passing, all 32 NFL teams are going to look forward to the NFL draft and how they can improve their team on offense or defense for the upcoming season. And after free agency and the draft pass this offseason, there's definitely going to be a lot of teams that have improved their team both on offense and defense so they can be a better team and potentially have a winning season in the 2020 season. But as of right now, there's no doubt that the Broncos have improved their team during free agency, both on offense and defense, just like many other teams. And the Broncos and the rest of the teams are now going to look forward to how they can improve their team during the draft on offense and defense. And free agency is still happening right now. And there's still a lot of other moves that can take place into the next few weeks. This free agency list is a long list. I'm going to go through every move that has happened, regardless if it's a new contract that has been signed or it was a trade that happened during free agency. But I'm going to list and tell you every single move that has happened up until now. And even on the next episode of All Sports with Gerardo, any other moves that have happened between now and then, I will also update you with all those other moves during free agency. But as of right now, here's what has happened during free agency. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers have agreed to a 2-year contract. Drew Brees and the Saints have agreed to a 2-year contract. Phillip Rivers and the Colts have agreed to a 1-year contract. Ryan Tannehill and the Titans have agreed to a 4-year contract extension. Kirk Cousins and the Vikings have agreed to a 2-year contract extension. Teddy Bridgewater and the Panthers have agreed to a 3-year contract. Case Keenum and the Browns have agreed to a 3-year contract. Matthew Slater and the Patriots have agreed to a 2-year contract extension. Safety Devin McCourty and the Patriots have agreed to a 2-year contract. Bradley Roby and the Texans have agreed to a 3-year contract. Linebacker Christian Kersey and the Packers have agreed to a 2-year contract. Eric Flowers and the Dolphins have agreed to a 3-year contract. Defensive lineman Ark Armstead and the 49ers have agreed to a 5-year contract. Jason Pierre-Paul and the Buccaneers have agreed to a 2-year contract. Austin Hooper and the Browns have agreed to a 4-year contract. Nose tackle Davon Hargrave and the Eagles have agreed to a 3-year contract. Jimmy Graham and the Bears have agreed to a 2-year contract. Brian Jones and the Dolphins have agreed to a 5-year contract. Cornerback James Bradbury and the Giants have agreed to a 3-year contract. Offensive tackle George Fant and the Jets have agreed to a 3-year contract. Jack Collin and the Browns have agreed to a 3-year contract. Linebacker Blake Martinez and the Giants have agreed to a 3-year contract. Randall Cobb and the Texans have agreed to a 3-year contract. Kyle Van Noy and the Dolphins have agreed to a 4-year contract. Linebacker Jamie Collins and the Lions have agreed to a 3-year contract. Defensive end Emmanuel Obi and the Dolphins have agreed to a 2-year contract. Running back Jordan Howard and the Dolphins have agreed to a 2-year contract. Robert Quinn and the Bears have agreed to a 5-year contract. Center Connor McGovern and the Jets have agreed to a 3-year contract. Jason Witten and the Raiders have agreed to a 1-year contract. Right tackle Brian Boney and the Chargers have agreed to a 3-year contract. Vic Beasley and the Titans have agreed to a 1-year contract. Linebacker Joe Schobert and the Jaguars have agreed to a 5-year contract. Linebacker Corey Littleton and the Raiders have agreed to a 3-year contract. Gerald McCoy and the Cowboys have agreed to a 3-year contract. Cornerback Eli Apple and the Raiders have agreed to a 1-year contract. Defensive lineman Danny Shelton and the Lions have agreed to a 2-year contract. Offensive tackle Andrew Whitworth and the Rams have agreed to a 3-year contract extension. Chris Harris and the Chargers have agreed to a 2-year contract. Dante Fowler and the Falcons have agreed to a 3-year contract. Cornerback Desmond Turfant and the Lions have agreed to a 2-year contract. Offensive tackle Brandon Schnell and the Seahawks have agreed to a 2-year contract. Dante Fowler and the Falcons have agreed to a 3-year contract. Linebacker Devorday Campbell and the Cardinals have agreed to a 1-year contract. Todd Gurley and the Falcons have agreed to a 1-year contract. Tight end Eric Ebron and the Steelers have agreed to a 2-year contract. Safety Clinton Dix and the Cowboys have agreed to a 1-year contract. Emmanuel Sanders and the Saints have agreed to a 2-year contract. Cornerback Artie Burns and the Bears have agreed to a 1-year contract. Wide receiver Nelson Aguilar and the Raiders have agreed to a 1-year contract. Will Parks and the Eagles have agreed to a 1-year contract. Guard Greg Van Roten and the Jets have agreed to a 3-year contract. Brian Hoyer and the Patriots have agreed to a 1-year contract. Cornerback Jimmy Smith and the Ravens have agreed to a 1-year contract. Wide receiver Robbie Anderson and the Panthers have agreed to a 2-year contract. Wide receiver Brashard Perryman and the Jets have agreed to a 1-year contract. Wide receiver Philip Dorsett and the Seahawks have agreed to a 1-year contract. Safety Von Bell and the Bengals have agreed to a 3-year contract. Ndamukong Suh and the Buccaneers have agreed to a 1-year contract. Melvin Gordon and the Broncos have agreed to a 2-year contract. Graham Glasgow and the Broncos have agreed to a 4-year contract. Tight end Nick Fantel and the Broncos have agreed to a 2-year contract. Cornerback Devontae Brasbury and the Broncos have agreed to a 1-year contract. Punter Sam Martin and the Broncos have agreed to a 3-year contract. Quarterback Jeff Driscoll and the Broncos have agreed to a 2-year contract. The Broncos picked up the contract options for Von Miller, Brandon McManus, and Todd Davis. The Jaguars traded A.J. Brown to the Broncos in exchange for a 4th-round draft pick. The Titans traded defensive tackle Jerso Casey to the Broncos in exchange for a 2020 7th-round draft pick. The Broncos traded Andy Janovich to the Browns in exchange for a 2021 7th-round draft pick. The Texans traded DeAndre Hoskins and a 4th-round draft pick to the Cardinals in exchange for David Johnson, a 2020 2nd-round draft pick, and a 2021 4th-round draft pick. The Vikings traded Stephon Diggs and a 2020 7th-round draft pick to the Bills in exchange for a 2020 1st, 5th, and 6th-round draft pick and a 2021 4th-round draft pick. The Jaguars traded Nick Foles to the Bears in exchange for a 2020 4th-round draft pick. The Jaguars traded Calais Campbell to the Ravens in exchange for a 5th-round draft pick. The Ravens traded tight end Hayden Hurst and a 2020 4th-round draft pick to the Falcons in exchange for a 2020 2nd and 5th-round draft pick. The Colts traded their 1st-round draft pick to the 49ers in exchange for defensive tackle DeForest Buckner. The Ravens traded defensive lineman Chris Wormley and a 2021 7th-round draft pick to the Steelers in exchange for a 2021 5th-round draft pick. The Panthers traded Kyle Allen to the Redskins in exchange for a 5th-round draft pick. The Redskins traded cornerback Quentin Dunbar to the Seahawks in exchange for a 5th-round draft pick. The Lions traded Darius Slay to the Eagles in exchange for a 2020 3rd and 5th-round draft pick. Darius Slay and the Eagles have agreed to a 3-year contract extension. So that was a long list of all the current moves that have happened during free agency, regardless if it was a new contract signed or a trade that was made. But that was all the moves that have happened up until now. And any other moves that happen going into the next few weeks during free agency, I will also update you with that as well. But as of right now, even though that was a long list, those are all the moves that have currently happened during free agency up until this point. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NBA. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NBA basketball. The NBA announced Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, and Tomke Catchings are the NBA Hall of Fame finalists for 2020. So if we take a look at Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett, there's no doubt that these 3 players that played in the NBA are going to be NBA Hall of Famers this year. Especially with the type of career that all 3 of these players had during their NBA career. But especially for Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan. With Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan playing their entire career with one team and also winning 5 NBA championships with the team that they played for their entire career, there's no doubt that they are future Hall of Famers. There's no doubt that Kobe Bryant is one of the best players to ever play in the NBA and for the Lakers. And with the type of career that Kobe Bryant had in the NBA and for the Lakers, there's no doubt that he's a future Hall of Famer and that he will be in the NBA Hall of Fame this year. Also, Tim Duncan, with the type of career that he had with the Spurs and being one of the best players to ever play for the Spurs, there's no doubt that Tim Duncan is a future Hall of Famer and he will be a Hall of Famer this year. Also, there's no doubt with the type of career that Kevin Garnett has had in the NBA, with all the teams he has played for, but especially for the Celtics, there's no doubt that Kevin Garnett will be a future Hall of Famer and a Hall of Famer this year. Out of all the finalists that were listed for the class of 2020 and the finalists that could potentially be NBA Hall of Famers in 2020, there's no doubt that Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan will make it into the NBA Hall of Fame and be future Hall of Famers with the type of career that Kobe Bryant had in the NBA and with the Lakers. And there's no doubt that Kobe Bryant is one of the best players to ever play in the NBA. Also, Tim Duncan was one of the best players to ever play for the Spurs, and he also had a great career in the NBA and for the Spurs. And even Kevin Garnett, with the type of career that he had in the NBA, there's no doubt he could also be an NBA Hall of Famer. Now we're going to have to wait and see what the NBA announces and who they announce will be a part of the class of 2020 and be NBA Hall of Famers. But if you take a look at these finalists that could potentially be future Hall of Famers this year and going into the future, there's no doubt that Kobe Bryant will be an NBA Hall of Famer after the type of career that he had in the NBA and with the Lakers. And even though Kobe Bryant's life was cut short and he didn't live his whole life to his potential, he definitely lived his NBA career to his whole potential. And there's no doubt that Kobe Bryant is one of the best players to ever play in the NBA. And even though Kobe Bryant died this year, the NBA and the rest of the world has done whatever they can to honor Kobe Bryant's legacy in the NBA and with the Lakers. And the NBA is going to make sure that they honor Kobe Bryant now and going into the future. And they're going to make sure that nobody ever forgets about Kobe Bryant. But one of the last things the NBA can do to honor Kobe Bryant's legacy and career in the NBA is by naming him a Hall of Famer. And there's no doubt that the NBA is going to name Kobe Bryant a Hall of Famer. And they're going to do it this year. The NBA is going to do whatever they can to honor Kobe Bryant. And they're going to honor Kobe Bryant's career in the NBA. And this is one of the ways that the NBA can honor Kobe Bryant. Regardless of who you are, what your name is, or what player you are, what league you play in, or whatever sport you play, to be named a Hall of Famer in that league or that sport, that is one of, and that's also the highest achievement that you can accomplish in your athletic career. And there's no doubt that the NBA is going to honor Kobe Bryant in the best way that they can by naming him a Hall of Famer. The Celtics announced next season they will retire Kevin Garnett's number 5 jersey. There's no doubt that Kevin Garnett was a great NBA player, and he also had a great career in the NBA with all the teams he played for during his NBA career. Kevin Garnett was also a great player and one of the best players we have seen play in the NBA. The highlight of Kevin Garnett's career was playing for the Celtics, especially with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, when the Celtics won the NBA Finals. There's no doubt that a part of Kevin Garnett's great NBA career was when he played for the Celtics with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, and when the Celtics were a great team, and when the Celtics won the NBA Finals. So the Celtics are going to do their part by honoring Kevin Garnett's career that he had with the Celtics by retiring his jersey next season. And we're going to have to wait and see. With Kevin Garnett being one of the best players to play for the Celtics and being one of the best players to play in the NBA, we'll have to wait and see if Kevin Garnett is named a Hall of Famer this year or going into the future. But this year, Kevin Garnett was also named an NBA Hall of Fame finalist with Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan. We'll have to wait and see if Kevin Garnett will be an NBA Hall of Famer this year or going into the future. But the Celtics are going to honor Kevin Garnett's career that he had with the Celtics next season when they retire his jersey. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about college football and soccer. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to college football. Colorado named Carol Dornell to be their next head coach. Now, if we take a look at Colorado, this past season, Mel Tucker was a head coach for Colorado. Mel Tucker was only the head coach for Colorado for one season. And during this off season of college football, Mel Tucker was getting recruited to Michigan State. And up until the time that Mel Tucker left Colorado for Michigan State, Mel Tucker kept saying that he was not going to leave Colorado since he only coached Colorado for one season. He liked the direction that Colorado was going this past season, and he liked the direction that Colorado was going for next season and going into the future. And since Mel Tucker had just signed a new contract and he only coached Colorado for one season, he wanted to continue coaching Colorado for the next few seasons, or at least until his contract expired with Colorado. Mel Tucker kept saying he was not going to leave Colorado, regardless if Michigan State or another college football team tried to recruit him. He kept saying that up until the point that Michigan State recruited him. And after the type of contract that Michigan State was able to offer to Mel Tucker, there's no doubt that that contract wasn't going to compete or be near the type of contract that Colorado gave Mel Tucker. And at the end of the day, Mel Tucker decided that he was going to leave Colorado for Michigan State. And after that situation took place, Colorado had to name an interim head coach, as they had to begin the process of looking for a new head coach. And a few weeks later, Colorado named Karl Dornell to be their next head coach. So as of right now, Mel Tucker will be the next head coach for Michigan State, and Karl Dornell will be the next head coach for Colorado. Moving on now to soccer, Cristiano Ronaldo has now played in 1,000 career games. In 1,000 matches, Cristiano Ronaldo has played 18 seasons with 4 different clubs, and he has had 725 career goals. Lionel Messi became the first player to reach 1,000 goal contributions. Lionel Messi has 696 career goals and 306 career assists. So there's no doubt, if you take a look at the type of career that Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi have had in soccer, there's no doubt that both Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi are 2 of the best players in sports right now, and they're 2 of the best players to ever play soccer. And we're going to have to wait and see how many more seasons Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi play in soccer. But there's no doubt that both Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi have been 2 of the best players to ever play soccer, from the beginning of their soccer career up until now, and even from the beginning to the end of their soccer career. Both Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi will be 2 of the best players to ever play soccer. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the end of the show. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now, on the next show, I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, and NBA basketball. I hope you all have a great week. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next week. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.